Hello, and welcome, ladies. I am so freaking excited right now. You cannot imagine. I have been looking forward to this all week and the preparation. Y'all, the preparation, it's about to be lit. So make sure you tag somebody that you're in the group with that you're like, oh yeah, we not missing this. Make sure you tag somebody. Say hey if this is your first time here. If this is your first time, by the way, I would love for you to drop like a hi or a heart. If this is your first time watching any live teaching, workshop, whatever with me, I need you to say something because it's too late. I'm so excited. Sorry. I'm trying to pull this up so I can see comments, which honestly I should have did on my phone. But if this is your first time rocking out with me, I just want to say what's up. If you are an OG to me, you were in AW, you were you've been a part of Heal for Real, if you've been to an AW event, if you're a client, all of the things, I want you to say hey. I want you to say OG. I love it when people who have known me for a while, who have been here for a couple of years, who have been rocking with me since, 2019, 2020. I love when you guys still continue. Thank you. I love it when y'all still continue to rock out with me because it's just a testimony to like how amazing our time together is, the things that I've been able to facilitate for you guys, that y'all are still here. So look, we have a lot to cover. Okay. Yes. What's up, OG? So we have a lot to cover. But before we do that, I really felt, as I was preparing today, I really felt in my spirit that I need to tell you guys my story. It's over 200 people. By the way, the purpose of this group was for the Heal Girl Summer Challenge. And I was going to close it out because, baby, I have enough groups. And I was going to close it out after the challenge. But I ended up not doing so. And then from TikTok, a bunch of you guys followed me, or from Instagram, a bunch of y'all followed me, joined this group. Like, no, we need community. So I was like, all right, I guess we're building community. Now, of course, we already have AW, but AW is co-ed and it's all relationship statuses. And this here is just women. So I'm excited to have y'all here. But let me give you guys a little bit of background about, for those of y'all who just saw a video on TikTok who know nothing about me, I'm going to make this as quick as possible. In 2016, I married my college sweetheart. We got married in I married my college sweetheart in 2016. Throughout that time, I was in grad school getting my MSW. I'm a licensed master social worker. At the end, I'm talking about like the last month and a half, I found out that he was having an affair with somebody that I knew. Not only did I know them, but this was a part of a family that we were very close with, and part of our church family as well. So it was very devastating, not just to me, but to our entire community, and in ways that you can't even imagine, honestly. Without going into too much detail, it was it was basically scandalous, right? We were leaders at our church. It was a big deal. We were a big part of this, and we were close to this family. And so it was a huge violation of trust, and ultimately shifted the landscape of that church at the time. And so here I was, in the midst of one of the hardest seasons of my life, trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do now. I had newly graduated by then. And we separated and ultimately decided to divorce. So I was divorced by 25, shockingly, not thinking that this would be my life story. And I was working in the medical field. I had already started Authentically Wed, which was at the time a blog to help Christian wives be the wives that their family need and not what society tells you to be. And so I was like, obviously, God, you don't want me to do this anymore because I'm not a wife. How am I going to talk about wifely things and I ain't no wife? Well, God was like, hold your horses. I have something better for you. And after everything was finalized, we rebranded AW, and it became this co-ed, like I said, Christian community dedicated to helping Christians build healthy and authentic relationships from a biblical perspective. So really tearing down a lot of the false ideologies surrounding relationships and helping people to do it in a healthier way, because my heart was that I never wanted anybody to experience what I did. Well, that turned into events, which turned into the Facebook group, which turned into more virtual and in-person events, including some singles mixers, panel discussion, our flagship event, Pillow Talk, which we haven't had in 2 years, almost 3. And then that turned into a book. I have authored When Seasons Change, a divorce recovery interactive devotional. But it's crazy because most of the people who purchased that book were singles who had just gone through devastating breakups. And that led to people asking me, well, what do I do? How do I get past this brokenness? How do I get past this relationship? So I started coaching in 2020. That led to Heal for Real, which was my flagship course. We brought in some amazing women, 2 cohorts through that program. It was highly successful. And a lot of these women are connected to this day or are still thriving off of the work that they did at that time. And then at the top of January 2021, I started to make my transition out of the medical field and into therapy. And I've been seeing clients as a coach and as a therapist full time since then. So that's just a quick snippet of my story for those of y'all who are not familiar with me. But that is what qualifies me to have the conversation that we're having. Not only do I have the experience, but I have the credentials. But the thing about the experience is that I don't speak from a place that I cannot understand. I don't speak from a place that doesn't make sense to me. When I tell you that you can overcome your relational trauma, it's because I went through the hardest season of mine and most other people's lives, and I survived. Not only survived, I thrived. Genuinely. People who know me real life will tell you I'm this person. I bought a house on my own. I had an amazing career. I launched into a second career. And none of this though is by happenstance. None of this is by guessing. It's by one, having a community of people that love me so much that they wouldn't let me fall. And it's by doing the hard work of facing myself. And so we'll dig into what that work looks like. But facing myself, but also having grace and forgiving myself enough to move forward in my healing journey. See, a lot of you guys are here, not because maybe you haven't tried some things. Some of you just can't get past you. You can't get past you, your own experiences, your own perceptions, your beliefs about yourselves, the how could I, and I should have. And that's blocking your experience. And we'll talk about that some more. So I'm going to get into the topic, but I want to make sure y'all are with me. So just drop a I'm ready in the comments. Honestly, I don't even know if I'm ready for what we're about to talk about today. If you are, if this isn't your first time with me, some of this stuff is going to be a refresher with some new things kind of mixed in, especially for what we're talking about tonight. All right. So let me make sure, hold on, a couple technical things. Real quick. Because I feel like I can't see things anymore. But we're about to get started and I want to know that y'all are ready. I need y'all to have paper and pen. Y'all gonna be like, say that again. I'm gonna be like, I may not even remember what I just said. Okay. All right. So I got a little bit of a presentation, some slides for y'all, but don't get excited. It's real basic. Okay. It's more so just to help you guys with notes and to move me along. So some of these notes are kind of for me. Okay. So don't judge. All right, so tonight's topic, by the way, how trauma makes you choose the wrong man. Now, see, we get it. We've all been there where we didn't make the right decision. We've all experienced what it's like to fumble the bag in our relationships, but we've also experienced too, that sometimes it was the other person who sold us a dream, right? But I can't speak to, here's the thing. I get a lot of comments about, well, sometimes people lie and they deceive and they this, and that's true. I can say from experience that is true. However, I nor you can make behavior changes based off of something that we don't have control over. So we're going to talk about specifically what it looks like when we choose wrong. Not when somebody bamboozles us, not when, somebody hits a 180 and it's somebody completely different. We're going to talk about what we have the ability to talk about, which is what we choose. Okay? So this isn't victim blaming. This is accountability. All right? Accountability that I myself have had to come to terms with. So how trauma makes you choose the wrong man. Let's get into it. So first of all, y'all already know a little bit about my story. Like I said, I am here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a licensed master social worker. I specialize in relational trauma therapy and coaching. I am owner of the Wholeness Academy. So if you've ever bought a course or taken a course with me, this is where you took it. www.thewholenessacademy.com. Authentically Wed, I told you guys about that. I'm an author of When Seasons Change. You can grab that on Amazon if you or somebody in your life is going through divorce, separation, or a traumatic breakup. I also have Grab Your Stuff podcast. So for those of y'all who are on TikTok watching me, and at the end of my videos, I say, grab your stuff, let's go. We have Grab Your Stuff podcast. I'm a Target enthusiast. If you need to find me, you'll find me there. I'm Millennial AF, which stands for and fine. Okay. And I love God. You don't love God? What's wrong with you? And by the way, I get a lot of comments as well about like, do you only service Christian women? As a therapist, no. However, when it comes to the work that I do outside of therapy, yes. And the reason why is because it does not make sense to me that Christian men and women are the ones struggling with relationships just as much, if not more, than the world. It doesn't make sense. We know God, right? Or we should, or it's presumed that we know God, the author and the finisher of our faith. We're saved, sanctified, the Holy Ghost baptized, filled with the Holy Ghost and all that kind of stuff. But we fail and we struggle in the area of relationships. We should be thriving. We know the God that is love. We know the God that created love and marriage. So why are we struggling? And that's why I have this space in my heart specifically for believers, because it don't make sense. The world makes sense to me. It makes sense why they would have issues in their relationships, but it doesn't make sense to me that the body of Christ would. So if that makes you uncomfortable that I really specialize with Christian, high achieving Christian women, I want to say I apologize, but I don't. I just want you to know where my heart is. But that doesn't mean that anything that I have to say won't be valuable to you, but they are rooted in biblical principles as well as my expertise and experience. All right, so let's play a quick game. That means that y'all need to be in the chat, okay? So we're gonna build a man. By the way, I got this from my good sis, Brittany Broaddus Smith from the Intimacy Firm. Y'all, please follow her. She's doing amazing things, especially if you are a Christian woman who is struggling with abstinence. If you're married and have concerns about sexual intimacy or intimacy in general in your marriage, she is an amazing person to follow. But I want y'all to build your ideal man. You have $5. I want to know what you're spending it on. I want you to drop in the comments what you're spending it on. I'll give y'all a couple minutes to do this. But I just want to know. I just want to see like how we build it. This is Build a Man Workshop. Okay. What is it that we're spending? If you have $5 to build your man, what are you spending that on? Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. What are you spending your $5 on? What y'all spending it on? Faithful, wise, read, fast, pray. Okay, so you got your money's worth. Nothing left over. I like that. He'll be faithful. He'll be wise. He'll read, fast, and pray. All right, cool. Okay, same thing. Okay, all right. I'm with it. Y'all want some wisdom? I mean, we all want them faithful, right? Lord, I wish they could be faithful and fine, ain't it? I do wish. Okay. So it seems like everybody kind of is coming to the same conclusion. I need to borrow some money. Me too, sis. Listen, I told her, you know what? Me and her were talking, and I said, can I make it 6? Because this is terrible. She was like, no, they need to choose. I was like, okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Faithful, praise, wise. Oh, we have reach, pray, fast, faithful, confident. Ooh, a little plot twist in there. Tall, reads, fast, and prays. Y'all, you was like, listen, I don't care nothing about what you talking about. He could be a little dumb, long as he is tall, faithful, wise, confident. Okay, all right. I'm loving these answers. So honestly, mine would be the same. I'll probably do faithful, reads fast, prays, and wise. Although, you know what, low key, if he read fast and prays, then I will hope that he's getting wisdom from the Holy Spirit, right? So can we do faithful? Obviously, he can't be fine. There's just no way for him to be fine. Oh, Lord, and black. Okay, faithful, read fast, pray. I guess tall. Oh Lord, I guess that would be mine. I think I'm the same as this. I think I'm because I'm gonna assume that hopefully he's gaining wisdom from the Lord. A man that reads fast and prays, he can't be dumb, right? He can't not dumb, but he can't be unwise, right? I don't know. Now I'm making myself mad. Now I feel like we're gonna stay here too long. But thank y'all for playing along. But essentially, this is important because yes, it's a fun little game, but we also want to look at what is my criteria for choosing a man in the first place. We'll come back to this. But I just want y'all to remember. Not faithful and well endowed. You said, forget the prayers, forget how fine he is, forget wisdom. I need to be good. I need to be good between the sheets. Okay, all right. I'm here for it. Okay, bet. So, ground rules really quick. Talk to me, I talk back. I need y'all in these comments. If you're new here, you don't know. That's okay. But I need y'all in these comments because that's how I know. That's how I temperature check. Let me know if you need me to slow down, come back, whatever. The second one, Vegas with a twist. This is the same. I actually took this from Brittany Broader Smith as well. I take a lot of things from her. I just be stealing. No, I'm just kidding. But we talk a lot. But I took this from her, Vegas with a twist, right? What happens here stays here, but what's learned here leaves here. Okay? What's learned here leaves here. So make sure that you tag me, tag your takeaways, talk to people about how dope this was. But at the same time, I will honor the sacredness of this space, right? And so will you, which goes for our group in general. Celebrate and validate. So if we have a moment where we're sharing, we're going to celebrate one another and validate. And I want you at the end of this to commit to one change. Commit to one change. That's it. That's it. I'll be happy if you just commit to one change, and you'll be happier as well. So if you have been here before, this looks very familiar with you. I start off almost every single workshop on trauma like this because it's important. And side note, a little quirky thing that I do, I don't really cuss. And so sometimes I will redefine cuss words. So like AF, TF, yeah, etc. Yeah, just a quirky thing I do. So what is trauma and why TF are we talking about it? TF in this case stands for turtle floats. The definition, let's talk about the definition of trauma. We're going to get into the nitty gritty. I'm going to get really nerdy on you guys and talk about some neuroscience stuff. But let's get into what is the definition of trauma. According to Google, it is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. That alone tells us that for a lot of Black women, we struggle to identify our experiences, especially in relationships or in life in general, especially if you're high achieving, because you are used to living on the struggle bus. You are used to things being challenging and overcoming those challenges. So it's hard for you to identify trauma when it comes, because you think that trauma is gunshot wounds and getting beat up. And that's not true. Trauma is a deeply disturbing or distressing experience. Trauma comes from a Greek word that is defined as wound. Wound. And as we know, the thing that we're dealing with when we're talking about trauma in this space are soul wounds. We're talking about soul wounds. We're talking about the areas that you have been bruised or cut or somehow afflicted in your soul through your experiences. You may or may not have the scars to show it, but it's real. And it affects how you move, how you walk, how you talk, how you engage, who you love, what you love, and who loves you. And that's why we are talking about it, because it matters. Now let's talk specifically about relational trauma. Here's what I know. 1, relationships are a foundation for your life. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how we try to downplay the importance of relationships. And in this case, I'm talking all relationships, all types of relationships. But you are born in relationship. Even somebody who was maybe given away at birth or put up for adoption, right? They are born in relationship with somebody or something. We all need a level of bonding in our early life. So relationships, whether good or bad, are a foundation for your life. Number 2, when your primary relationships are shaky, unsafe, or inconsistent, it directly impacts your perception of the world. Directly. And primary relationships meaning parent or caregiver or guardian. When they are shaky, unsafe, or inconsistent, it directly impacts your perspective of the world. And likewise, when they are safe, when they are consistent, when they are loving, that also impacts your perspective. Then we launch out into the world outside of our families, right? You start going to school, you start working, etc. And then you develop intimate relationships, friendship or romantic. And when those intimate relationships become unsafe and shift your view of the world, that also can be traumatic, even if you had a healthy upbringing. So essentially, you can, in one scenario, when your parents or caregivers or guardians were inconsistent, then you have intimate relationships. That is, and those become traumatic. You stack trauma on top of trauma. It's a trauma-ish show, okay? It's a hot mess. But when you have safety and consistency, but then you have traumatic intimate relationships where you experience abandonment, gaslighting, disappointment, abuse, infidelity, whatever, that in and of itself is traumatic. And not only is it traumatic, but the way, especially if you had a healthy upbringing, the way that it impacts the trauma is not even just in what happened, but it's in your eyes being completely shifted in what is possible in the world. Does that make sense? So not only was the experience traumatic, but now this new perspective that you have of the world that you may have developed, like, oh, wow, people can hurt me. I didn't know that before. I didn't know that there were people that existed who would not love me well. That in itself is traumatic. Because it's almost like you're in shock. If you're with me, I want you to drop a heart. If you're with me, drop a heart. I just want to make sure that I haven't lost y'all already. Because we're about to go deeper. Okay, cool. I see y'all. So look, while trauma was uncomfortable for you, while it was not a pleasurable experience, continued exposure will cause you to normalize the experience or tell yourself that this is what you have access to or are worthy of. See, the thing about it is a lot of times we get all perplexed as to, well, I experienced an abusive relationship, or my parents were abusive. Why do I keep dating abusive men? Well, because your brain starts to normalize that experience for you. And it starts to tell you, it starts to run these scripts in the back of your mind that says, well, I mean, this is all that's out there. This is all that you have access to because X, Y, and Z. This is all you're worthy of. Right? Some of you guys have experienced feeling like I'm not worthy of the type of relationships that I want, whether you care to admit it or not. Here's another thing. The other reason why you may not be having the experiences that you want or the relationships that you want due to trauma is because you tend to see a fire where there isn't one. So essentially, your alarm, for example, I have an alarm system. I have cameras set up in the front. It's supposed to help look out for danger. However, even though I set the parameters, if a car drives by, if a person walks past, it's automatically like, hey, check this out. That's you. When you have unresolved trauma, your alarm is easily triggered. So whether there's danger or not, you're either hyper vigilant, meaning that you're preparing or looking for danger that hasn't yet existed, or you are easily triggered. The slightest thing that maybe could have been something, but had you had a conversation, would have been nothing. You've already been set off as if it was something. And all of this creates a cycle of more poor quality relationships. You go from experiencing actual trauma to normalizing the experience in your mind, to your alarm being easily triggered through hypervigilance through hypervigilance. And then you create this cycle because you don't have the cognitive experience, the belief system that tells you that I can have different and I can make different decisions and I can have different. Is this making sense? Thank you. So now, this is your brain on trauma. This is the part that kind of tickles my fancy a little bit, because when I really discovered the neuroscience of trauma, I realized, first of all, I just want to validate somebody right now and say this: trauma is real. Your experiences are real. You are not crazy. You haven't made your experience up. Somebody else in your position may or may not have felt the same, but none of that matters. What matters is you have experienced what you've experienced, and it's legit. It's real. The point here is not to, I want to create a safe space for people who have been told that it's not a big deal when it felt like a big deal. And I'm about to break down to you why it's important that you at least acknowledge that and what's actually going on behind the scenes. Okay, so this is your brain on trauma. One, trauma disrupts the part of the brain that stores emotional responses to experiences. It's called the amygdala. So where you would normally have these natural responses to your emotions, trauma comes in and all of a sudden the systems are going crazy. Like, what do we do? How do we regulate? How do we, what is this? We don't know what to do with this, right? Now, sometimes your amygdala filters out the experience and you move on about your way, right? Maybe you've been in a car accident, it was traumatic, but you got back behind the wheel and you never thought about it again. Me, on the other hand, and this is a true story, I've gotten in a lot of car accidents. So I have like driving PTSD. Sometimes I get like a little hypervigilant, or I drive, and depending if there's a certain place that looks similar to one of my worst accidents, I start to like flashback, right? So whereas at one point, one person may have experienced a car accident, they're totally fine. They got behind the wheel, they're cool. My experiences have been embedded in my neurology, in my amygdala, and now my brain has a hard time regulating itself when it comes to driving. And so this is the same with other things. Maybe you experienced a breakup in your teens and it wasn't a big deal, but you experienced a breakup in your 20s and 30s and it felt life-shattering. This is because of how your brain, the amygdala, is filtering out those experiences and giving the emotional response to and for. 2, unprocessed and continuous trauma, which are two different things. So one, something was traumatic, but you didn't deal with it. Or two, you keep experiencing the same type of trauma. It strengthens our survival mechanisms and weakens our thinking mechanisms. I love this. This was a big aha for me when I was studying this. You want to know why? Because if you have ever experienced a hard time in your critical or creative thinking skills, this is why. If your brain shuts down when it's anxious or because it's anxious or overwhelmed, this is why. Sometimes trauma puts us in a state of survival. It puts us in a state of survival. So now your brain is constantly in, let's make sure everything's okay. Let's make sure that she's not in danger. Let's make sure that, all right, is everybody good? Your brain is doing that at all times. It is looking for the next possible scenario where it may have to defend itself. So there isn't much room to be creative. There isn't much room to be loving, to critically think. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a very unstable household. We were poor, and sometimes we did not live in the best housing conditions. It took me a long time to understand the concept of home. I've had this house for 3 years. I didn't unpack everything until the pandemic because my mind told me at the drop of a dime I may have to move, that this isn't real. That is a thing that is here, it's transient, and it can go at any moment in time. This is what it looks like. So I didn't have the capacity to decorate. I didn't have the capacity to host a bunch of events, although I did host a couple. I didn't have the capacity to make this space inviting and to think about what each room meant to me and how I wanted to feel in each room, because I was so busy trying to make sure that my house was in a state where I could easily move, where I could easily pack up. That's what trauma does. It heightens your survival and weakens your thinking mechanisms. Okay? Was that an aha moment for anybody else? Because that right there was good to me. When I realized that, not only did it unlock a lot of things for me personally, but it unlocked a lot of things for some of my clients. And so what does that look like? When we look at those survival mechanisms, or what we call defense mechanisms, there is a ton of them. There's so many different defense mechanisms, but the ones that are the most famous, the ones that have the most clout, are fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fight, meaning at any point in time, you like, what's up? Say something, right? You're ready to fight at a drop of a dime. Flight, you're going to run away at the first sign of trouble. That hit somebody. I felt it in my spirit. Somebody was like, yeah, I be running from stuff that I don't need to be running from, right? Freeze, meaning, which I'm a freezer by nature. I don't know what to do. I'm either going to shut down emotionally and I'm going to go quiet, or I'm just going to sit here. The freezer often, when you look at it from a Neolithic or whatever perspective, if I'm still, maybe they won't see me and the danger will pass, right? Fawn meaning Beauty and the Beast, right? Falling in love with the person who's hurting you. A lot of you guys have probably experienced this in your parental relationships, especially the ones that are codependent. You're uncomfortable, you hate it, you don't like it, but in order to mitigate the amount of harm, you like lavish your love on them, or you'll overlove, right? Some of you guys do this in relationships as well. Okay, I be running. I do this a lot. Yeah, we all do. And this is what it looks like sometimes to have unprocessed trauma. So let's move on. How do I choose better moving forward? How do I do it, Vernique? What do I do? I'm going to run through this list. I'm not going to go like, one by one. Although, hold on one second. I feel like a slide is missing. Hang tight, y'all. My apologies. Hang on one moment, y'all. All right, y'all. I have a slide missing. My apologies. No, I wasn't going to restart the live. It's fine. So anyways, I have a slide missing, but I'm going to teach this anyway. So for those of you guys who don't understand what relational trauma, here, let me come out of here real quick. What relational trauma looks like practically. Okay, what relational trauma looks like practically is this. One, okay. Can y'all hear me now? I apologize. Okay. All right. So the way that relational trauma looks practically is this feeling that you can't okay, y'all can hear. The way that relational trauma looks practically is by you feeling like no man is trustworthy. The way relational trauma manifests practically is through you giving up on the idea of marriage. It looks like you telling yourself that you still want marriage, but I'll settle for how I can get it. Meaning this idea that men are going to cheat, or I'm not going to really be able to find somebody that does X, Y, and Z. So you didn't give up all the way, but you gave up halfway. Relational trauma looks like being scared of even trying relationships at all, especially because of a previous one. Relational trauma practically looks like you scared to have the same relationships that your parents did, whether they were together or not. And so when we're talking about the experiences that we have with relational trauma, yeah, it's cool to talk about how it disrupts the part of the brain and the unprocessed trauma and all of that. But how it manifests in your life is anxious attachment issues, where you are so hell bent on being in certain relationships, right? Where you're like, you know what, I have to make this work. Or when a person doesn't call you, you feel when a man doesn't call you, if you're dating or whatever, you feel like that automatically means that they don't like you, or that the relationship is going downhill. Or if you're married, if you're partnered, looking at your behavior within the relationship and feeling like you have to keep an eye on that person, or avoiding relationships through self-sabotage, codependency. These are all ways that relational trauma looks in your life. These are all ways that relational trauma shows up in your life. So yes, all of this is cool. It disrupts part of the brain. It fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And I want you guys to take note of that. But I want you to know that the way that relational trauma runs scripts in the background of your mind is through these attitudes and behaviors. Not trusting anyone, not thinking anybody is able to meet your needs. Or this is one of my favorites, dating below your value, or dating people who actually cannot meet your needs. So dating below your value, meaning I've known people who were highly successful individuals dating men who don't even have a plan for their lives, right? Dating men who are mooching off of them, but they believe that this is what they deserve. They do not see themselves where they actually are and what they have the potential to have. So sometimes it's dating below your value, or dating at the level of your self-perception. Meaning, I believe that I deserve this. I do not like these relationships. They're not serving me, but I don't know how to access the types of relationships that are in alignment with my desire, God's plans for me, and the love that I deserve. Is that making sense? This is how relational trauma shows up practically. Are y'all tracking with me? Give me some hearts if you know what I'm saying, if that makes sense. And as a matter of fact, have you experienced any of those practical experiences? Dating beneath your value, scared that you're going to have the same relationships as your parents, being anxious or avoidant and self-sabotaging relationships, saying that you don't care about marriage and love when you actually do, but you're telling that to protect yourself from the possibility of harm down the road if you were to pursue that. Or believing in love and marriage, but telling yourself, I mean, I'm only going to get what I can get. I'm going to get the scraps, right? There's pee in the dating pool, so why try? Yeah? Okay. So I'm in the right room. So we're going to talk about what to do, okay? We're going to talk about how do I choose better moving forward? I hear you. I hear you. And that's normal. But we're going to, if you stick with me, we're going to talk about how to mitigate that. Yeah. And that's real. It's a protection. It's a protection. So we're going to talk about how do I choose better moving forward? Like I said, I'm not going to go through all of this. I might sit in a couple of them, but this is just for you to have a bird's eye view of what it looks like to choose better. Y'all, there is another slide missing. I'm sorry, y'all. Before we come here, I apologize, but I'm going to teach y'all something else. So before we get into how we choose better, I want us to talk about how do we heal within ourselves, within our own experience. Okay? How do we heal within our own experience? Before we get to choosing somebody better, we first have to be willing to do some work with just us. I want y'all to write this down. 1, I want you to decide that this is something worth addressing. Before healing is anything else, it's a decision. Thank you, Kendra. When I tell you this whole slide deck was done and ready to go, I laid down, took a nap, and now things are missing. It's crazy. But 1, you have to be willing to address it. It has to be something worth addressing. A great place to start is my trauma languages workshop. For those of y'all who have never done it, taken it, it's in www.thewholenessacademy.com. You can grab that. This is how you start to take inventory, which is step 2. Take inventory. Take inventory of your relationships. Take inventory of how you've experienced relationships. Take notice of the common denominators. Okay? Take notice of the common denominators and assess your relationship. I want you to next identify, be honest about your experience and identify how your experience is driving your decisions. I'll say it again. Be honest about your experience. Because some of you guys haven't even sat in the reality of what you've experienced, right? So be honest about your experience and then identify how that experience is driving your decisions. Thank you so much for the note taking. Step 2. Then be honest and identify how your experience is driving your decisions. Okay? Next, it's important for you to, which essentially is that step 3 right here. This is where we talk about the narrative. For those of you guys who have heard my spiel on story versus narrative, your story is what happened. The narrative is how the story has impacted your life. All right? Story is what happened. The narrative is how the story has impacted your life. Once you're able to identify those things, then we move on to flipping the script and living in it. You flip the script. You choose a different narrative. You walk in it. And you go from there. I'm giving y'all time to write this. Again, apologies for not having this slide up. And then last but not least, you have to have grace for yourself. I call this honoring your humanity, but essentially you have to have grace for your experiences. You have to have grace for your experiences. Because if you do not, if you don't give yourself the benefit of the doubt that you did the best that you could, even if it was the worst decision ever, you won't get to a point where you're willing to partner with yourself and move forward in healing. Okay? Thank you so much. So we're going to review this one more time for those of you guys who are taking notes. We're going to decide that healing is something worth addressing. Your relationships are worth it. Your love life is worth it, right? We're going to take inventory of your relationships and how you have experienced them. You're going to take note of the common denominators. Next, you're going to be honest and identify how your experience is driving your decisions. Then you're going to flip the script and choose a different narrative to walk in and go from there. You're going to show grace for yourself. You have to have grace for your experiences. Yes. Thank you so much. By the way, and this is a bonus, another thing that really, really, really a lot of us do not do, and I want to make sure I'm not getting ahead of myself, but one of the things that we don't do is we do not study why relationships matter, especially romantic, intimate relationships, right? We do not study why they matter and the meaning and the design of God for relationships. And I think that if we did, we would find that we would be a lot less frivolous with them. We'll be a lot less frivolous about who we partner with, about who we allow access to our bodies, about who we allow access to the time that we spend. And there's no condemnation, baby. I've been there. Okay, I probably led the pack. But I want us to be clear that if you do not understand the vision for marriage, if you do not understand why God created intimate relationships, you'll keep choosing people because of your desire and not because of what God intended. And it's funny because when we choose out of just our desire, when we choose out of just what we want, we oftentimes neglect what we need. We oftentimes neglect what we need. We often and we get bamboozled when the reality of relationships is not all fairy tales and skipping through the forest, which we know. But there's a difference between being in a healthy relationship that requires effort and being in a relationship that is like the struggle bus, right? So I'm not saying that, but I am saying that it's important for you to realize that marriage is not about you feeling good all the time. That relationships aren't just where you get to smile and do date nights. They're mirrors. And so if we understood the reality of what it means to be a godly wife and to have a godly husband, to allow somebody to lead us, you wouldn't date that guy. Like if you literally thought about, can I trust this person to lead me and my children? It may shape a little bit differently how you choose. Instead of just who is going to be on my roster for cuffing season. Who is substantial? So, anyways, now we're going to the next slide, which is, so how do I choose better moving forward? So we've talked about how to heal within yourself, but now let's talk about healing your decisions, essentially. Number one, boundaries, 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 boundaries. Another shameless plug. We have, I did a workshop that's available in the Wholeness Academy called Build Better Boundaries. I did it live, but then I flipped it into a mini course, added a couple bonuses in a workbook. It's so good. But boundaries are literally how you maintain your healing. Two things. You maintain it through self-care and through boundaries. Boundaries teach people how to love you better, but they also dictate, it gives you a course of action on how to move forward when people do not honor the shared space that you have with them. 2, you choose for your future, not for today. Not for how I feel today, not for who I am today per se, not for even what I'm doing and what my life looks like today. If I have a plan for my future, does this person match it? And if they were never to change and are like this 5 years from now, will I be okay with that? Or will I grow resentful and bitter? Be willing to let it pass when they're clearly wrong. That's like sitting at a bus stop. Me and Brittany were talking about this. That's like, and I think Patrice said this in Heal Girl Summer Challenge. But like sitting, you have to be willing to sit at the bus stop and let things pass you by. Yep, that's not my bus. That's not my bus. Okay. You have to be willing to take the journey, to let it pass. And one of the things Brittany said was, she said, you're not going to hop on a bus that's going in the wrong direction as you. So why are we choosing men that are not the right fit for us, for our future, for our children? Remember, you're making decisions for people who aren't even here yet. For those of you guys who desire kids, you're making decisions for moments and spaces that have not yet existed. So you have to be willing to let it pass when they're clearly the wrong fit. Be selective, but informed. Meaning, evaluate why you want a man with 6 figures in the first place. How does that add to your purpose? How does it add to God's design for marriage? And if you still feel like they do, like that particular criteria does, I need you to be informed on what it will take to wait on that man, to look for that man, and to be that man's wife. Be selective, but be informed. This isn't about scarcity mindset. It's about getting you to a place where you examine your criteria and your desires, and then you position yourself in such a way that you are willing to do what it takes to be in connection with that. Because some of you guys have desires that you would not be able to steward well. For example, I know that I could not be married to a military man. I know that. I wouldn't steward that relationship well. I'll be lonely a lot. I'll be concerned. I'd be anxious, especially if he was active duty. I know that about myself. So I'm making an informed decision that military man is probably not going to be my thing. Learn what you need, not just what you want, which I just talked about earlier. You talk about what you want, but what do you need? What do you know about yourself? Have you intimately taken time to deal with you and you know what you need in a partner? For example, me, I need somebody who is a leader. To be honest, I take that back. Yes, I need somebody who's a leader. I also need somebody who's smart. Can I be honest with y'all? Can I spill my personal business? One of my toxic traits is that I do not respect men who are not smart. I know it's terrible. I'm saying this on live TV, right? I'm saying this live. I cannot. And so I can't have a man who's not smart, who's not wise, because we will not be a good match. So I know that I need somebody who is wise. I need somebody who is wise. I need somebody who's smart. Because if not, we won't be a good fit. Now, I want somebody who's, got a sprinkle of thug in them. But what I need is somebody who is secure in his masculinity and willing to protect us. He don't have to be a thug, but he does have to have the necessary tools and capabilities to protect us. Do y'all understand? Our wants may not all be bad, but if we focus on the wants and we don't have an objective look at what we need, we're going to choose the wrong thing. And the thing about desires is desires change. What you wanted at 10, you didn't want at 15, 25, or 35. What you desire today, you may not have desired yesterday. Desires change, but your needs need to be met. Otherwise, they become vacancies. Learn what you need. Ask God to show you who am I, Lord? What are the things, what are the intricate things that I need so that way I can find my partner, my complement? Stop trying to make things work. Y'all, this is a revelation that I gave to myself, but I've been passing it on everywhere. Stop trying to make things work in the dating phase. I hate this, but it's true. This idea that Dating is collecting data. Well, if dating is collecting data, why are you forcing it? Why are you telling this man, oh, you need to do this, and why are you not doing this? If you want us to be together, you better. How does that help you see the character of that man? Now, I'm a firm believer that you teach people how to love you, right? People don't come specially built. But in the dating phase, some of you guys are killing yourselves trying to get a man to assimilate when he's not even your man. Torsten says that all the time. Like, is he your man? The point of the dating phase is that you're seeing if things work. And if you have a platform to build on, but trying to make things work when they're already not working in a phase that you're in with somebody who is not your man is ludicrous and a waste of your time. You assess, you evaluate, and you see if it works. Next, this is a real personal one for me. You trust your picker and give grace to your humanity, which we talked about before, but trusting your picker was a big area that I struggled in because I felt like because I had a failed marriage that I couldn't, like, how can I trust myself to ever choose well again? I struggled with the ability to choose a partner because I wasn't sure that I would be able to choose well. I didn't trust it. But little by little, I learned. I prayed. I allowed God to drop some wisdom in my heart. I got into God therapy. I sought wise counsel, and that allowed me to and I practiced decision making. I practiced making decisions so that way I could learn to trust my decision making capacity yet again. Okay? So trusting yourself is a necessary part to this whole thing. All right? Next, take an empowered approach to dating and know that singleness is not a disease. As much as I'm like, get married, I want y'all to get married, I want y'all to fall in love, I want y'all to have healthy relationships. Singleness is not a disease. It's not something that you need to get rid of, okay? But I want you to take an empowered approach. You're not just out here looking for any and everything. You're looking for the right thing. So I want you to feel empowered as a decision maker, as somebody who doesn't have to take what they can get. All right? Because you know what you need and what you want. And lastly, I really love this, but just because it hasn't worked doesn't mean it never will. Just because it hasn't worked out yet doesn't mean it never will. Here's the thing, you only need one. You only need one person for it to work out with. That's it. I know you've experienced some hurt, some hardship, but you don't need every man that comes into your life to be the one. We do want you to have better choices. And that's what all of this is for. But I want you to know that just because it hasn't worked out yet doesn't mean it never will. You stay the course. All right? And one of the ways that I want you guys to practice staying the course to help you on this whole journey is through my newly overhauled program. So if you're tired and considering giving up on love, if it seems easier for you to focus on your career or buy a toy poodle and a few more plants, which I'm looking at some plants, I haven't gotten the dog yet, or you don't want to give up, but you have some unhealed bruises that are keeping you in the same cycle, I want you to text H4R to this number right here, 833-593-0727. And it's going to tell you all about my new program, but I'm also going to show y'all. I'm going to show you guys something. I am unveiling this literally for the first time ever. Here it is. Ta-da! The Healthy Love Campaign. It is a 5-week program that is dedicated to you feeling empowered and desiring love again. Okay? I'm going to go through the I'm trying to get to the curriculum. Here we go. So 5 weeks, 5 transformational modules. We're talking about week 1. Why should I get married? This is you understanding the purpose of love and marriage. I'm doing all the studying for you so that way you don't have to. Baby, I started working on that module last night. That thing blessed me all over again. So when you understand the purpose of love and marriage, it'll change how you approach it. Victim or villain, all that work that I was talking about as far as you changing that narrative and all of that, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the experiences where people did wrong to you, but also where you have been complicit in your own harm. We're going to get honest. We're going to confront your experiences. Then what that trauma do? That's where we're addressing your trauma language and changing your narrative. Okay, so you kind of get that in-person experience of the trauma languages workshop, right? How low did you go? We're talking about how low sometimes that we've set our standards and our boundaries. So we're working to building healthy boundaries and standards. So if you have never taken Build Better Boundaries, or you were like, a lot of y'all were like, I need a part 2, I want to work through this. This is going to be the time where you work through my special formula for building healthy boundaries that will literally change your life. I kid you not. People were like, yeah, after this course, I changed boundaries with my mama. I mean, I upkept boundaries with my mama. Your mama, let alone a man, right? And then dating done right, the basics of healthy dating. Y'all, I say all the time, I'm not a dating coach, not my ministry, but I'm going to bring somebody in to talk about it so y'all can learn how to have a healthy dating life, okay? So right now, the early bird special from now until the 10th is $350. That's it. If you ever did Heal for Real, you know this is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the price. The only reason why we're doing this is because I'm approaching it a little bit differently. But $350, there is no payment plan. But this is exclusive to you guys until the 10th. So you have until Saturday to lock in this rate. After that, it'll be $500, which is understandable. Again, previous programs that I did were very much $1,500, $2,000. So this is different, and you're getting live Zoom sessions with me. I'm going to be teaching. You'll have 2 hours of coaching every Monday. I'll be teaching for 1 hour, and you will have Q&A, and then you'll have homework. And you'll have a private group. You'll be able to ask anything that you need to know. You'll get homework, like I said, and you'll also have access to a private group with other women that are going through this process with you. Okay, so this is super important if you're anxious about the possibility of not finding love, if you're stressed out because you have no true community, if you're exhausted from experiencing coaching or other things without fully being transformed, this is the thing for you. You'll be encouraged and excited for your future in your love life. You're healing in the safety of like-minded community, and you're working with a relational trauma coach, me, and therapist. So you're getting a special offer of 40% off. And if this is something you're interested in, like I said, I will lock in this special rate today because it will not be here long. All right. By Saturday, the price is going up. And so if you need, let me come over here. If you know that this is something that you need, I need you to go ahead and sign up for this tonight. Because some of y'all are going to hear this and you're going to be like, I don't know. By the way, I'm not really doing any one-on-ones anymore. I'm actually about to close the amount of therapy clients I have and one-on-one coaching. My OGs, they'll be able to have access to me, but I'm shutting that down because I really believe that right now the focus is for us to for me to do more like consulting and just all these other things. And so honestly, us doing this right now is really because I love the work that I do and I want to keep impacting you. I want to keep working with y'all, but I'm not doing as many one-on-ones anymore. So if you have wanted to work with me, this is a great place to start. I've just commented the link in the chat as well. But I commented the link in the chat, but just in case you didn't get it, you can also text. There we go. We can also text, excuse me, it's not H4R, y'all. I'm so sorry. The code word is ready. My apologies. It's ready. Text ready to that number. Or just DM me and I'll send you the link. Okay? You can also just DM me. All right? But I'm excited to work with y'all. A lot of you guys, when you were signing up, y'all were like, for this group, y'all were like, yeah, I want to work. I want to do this work. I'm ready to do this work. It's about time. This is your opportunity. Like nothing about this process of addressing your relational trauma so that way you can have the love and life that you desire. Nothing about that comes without an investment, whether that's therapy, whether that's this program, whether that's investment of your time with other people in your community, finding the types of community that you need so you can heal in. It doesn't come without some sort of an investment. And $350, y'all, I would do backflips, honestly. And people can tell you, by the way, these people can tell you. One of my clients, T, not this person, but T, said, I was desperate. I was desperate for change. I've been carrying some emotional baggage for years and nothing seemed to help. She attended my trauma languages workshop. And not only did she experience, and then afterwards she joined Heal for Real when we did it the first time or the second time. Not only did she receive biblical backing and how to heal properly, but she received practical advice on how to navigate through her journey. She loved the sisterhood that was developed amongst the other women, and it was a safe space for her to express herself in a world where women are expected to be at odds. We create real life community. Okay. Heal for Real came right on time for me. It gave me something to look forward to. The information taught in the course was so rich and the coaching calls were always enlightening. At times, unpacking was uncomfortable, but totally worth it when I put in the effort. I look back on it and remind myself that it's God's will for me to be happy and whole. Thank you, H4R, for giving me the extra push to not just move on, but to heal. Right? From Stephanie, it's not for the faint of heart. Working with me in general, the program was intense. This program, I'll be honest, is not as intense, but it's still intensive. It'll require patience, commitment. Two of the things she learned was how to affirm and forgive herself. And we'll be talking about that in the program. She recommends this course, and this journey towards wholeness is not easy, but it's one that is necessary and worth it because we are worthy. When Kendra went through this program, it was eye-opening, and she received the tools that she needed to take action in her journey. She says, I'm an amazing coach who truly cares about you reaching your full potential. Her wisdom is out of this world, and she will challenge you to address the deep-rooted pain so you can be whole. All right. So this is just testimonials of people who have done programs with me in the past. This is a pilot program. That's also why it's inexpensive, and we're only doing 5 weeks. These women went through an 8-week, some of them a 10-week process, right? 5 weeks. So I want you to look at yourself and consider if it is worth it. If $350 is worth you having the love that you desire, freeing up your heart, getting out of the overthinking, getting out of your mind, getting out of the concerns, like all of that. Oh, I love you too, Kendra. I love you too. Getting out of your mind, getting out of those experiences, having to overthink and be hypervigilant, all the things that we talked about. Is it worth $350 for you to unlock some of those things so you can move forward in your life and have the love and be positioned? See, I'm not a dating coach. I can't promise you a man, but what I can promise you is that when the man that you choose comes, that you'll be in much better position to receive it than you ever were before. That's what I can tell you. What I can tell you is people don't encounter me and leave the same. People don't encounter my anointing, my teaching, and walk away like, I guess, take it or leave it. No, honey, we change lives around here. So if you are ready to do this work, if you're ready and we just want to try something different, I want you to text READY to 833. Hold on, let me do it this way. To 833-593-0727. Text READY to 593-0727. Or look in the comments where I dropped the link and copy and paste it. All right. Hold on, let me pin this. All right. I pinned that comment so that way you guys can see it. It looks like this. Okay. All right. Well, that is it for me. I love y'all. Yes, sis. We have to prepare for what we want. It is what it is. It is what it is. And I'm literally launching a whole campaign behind this. The chorus is the beginning. I am so committed to seeing believers have healthy and authentic and life-giving, God-glorifying relationships that I'm starting with you. But this thing gonna take off. And I am excited. All right. You're so welcome. You are so welcome. You're so welcome. Y'all have a good night. DM me. Actually email me, y'all, because my emails are, my DMs are terrible. But email me at info@verniqueesther.com if you have any questions, concerns. And I am here for you as always. All right. I'm here for y'all. Ask me some questions. I haven't been in my email this week, but I will be sometime between tonight and tomorrow. So if you have emailed me already looking to work with me, know that I'm going to get to you. All right. Love y'all. Have a great night.